The silence in the hotel room was deafening. I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing the white robe the resort had left for us, while my husband of less than 12 hours, looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. He had just told me he didn't like women, that he never had, that he married me only because his family expected it. The honeymoon that was supposed to be the beginning of everything was, in fact, the end. My name is, and I'm 22 years old, and a month ago I thought I knew my life perfectly. Before all this happened, I was just an ordinary girl living in New York. I worked as an administrative assistant at an accounting firm, lived with my parents in a small but cozy apartment in Queens, and had a predictable routine that brought me comfort. I woke up early, had breakfast with my mom, took the crowded subway, spent the day organizing documents and answering phones, and came home tired but satisfied. On weekends, I went to church with my family, had lunch at my grandmother's house, and watched movies with my cousins. It was a simple life, but it was my life, and I liked it. I met Raphael at that same church 3 years ago. He was 2 years older than me, worked as a systems analyst, and was polite, responsible, and punctual. My parents loved him from the first moment. My mom said he had kind eyes. My dad approved because he had a stable job and talked about plans for the future. My friends told me I was lucky, that men like Raphael were rare these days. Our courtship was traditional. He picked me up at home. We talked for hours on the living room sofa while my parents watched television in the bedroom. We walked in the park on Sundays and went to the movies on Fridays. He always respected my boundaries. He never tried to pressure me for anything physical beyond chaste kisses. At the time, I thought this was admirable. I thought he respected me deeply, that he valued my purity, that we were saving the best for marriage, just as we were taught was right. After 2 years of dating, he asked for my hand. It was at a nice restaurant, with my parents present at the table next to us, pretending they didn't know anything but clearly waiting for the moment. He knelt down, opened a small box with a simple but beautiful ring, and asked me if I wanted to spend the rest of my life by his side. I said yes without hesitation. Of course I said yes. It was the natural next step. It was what was expected of me. It was what I wanted, or at least what I thought I wanted. The following months were a whirlwind of preparations. My mom took control of almost everything. She chose the catering, the flowers, the decorations. I just agreed, tried on dresses, smiled for the test photos. Raphael participated when necessary but always seemed distant from these details. I thought it was normal. I thought men just didn't care as much about weddings as women did. He showed up at meetings with vendors, approved choices, paid the bills, played his part. There were moments during the engagement when I tried to get closer to him physically. Not explicitly, but small gestures, small signs. I would hold his hand longer, lean against him when we watched movies, kiss his neck when we said goodbye. He always pulled away gently, always had an excuse. He was tired from work. He wanted to wait until the wedding. He said it would be special if we saved everything for the honeymoon. And I believed him. I always believed him. The wedding was beautiful. At least that's what everyone said. The church was full. The flowers were white and fragrant. My dress was everything I had ever dreamed of. I walked down the aisle arm in arm with my father, looked at Raphael waiting to receive me, and saw a smile on his face. A smile that at the time seemed like groom's jitters, but now, looking back, I realize it was something else. It was the smile of someone playing a role, of someone doing what was expected of him. We said our vows. We exchanged rings. We kissed when the priest pronounced us husband and wife. It was a quick, chaste kiss, appropriate for a religious ceremony. People applauded. We left the church under a shower of rice. We went to the reception. We cut the cake. We danced the waltz. I was exhausted and happy and anxious for what would come next. The honeymoon was to be at a resort in the Caribbean. 5 days of beach, sun, privacy. We took a red-eye flight right after the party. I spent the whole flight imagining what our first night together would be like. I was nervous, of course. I was afraid of not knowing what to do, of disappointing him in some way. But I was also excited, hopeful. I thought I would finally understand what everyone talked about regarding intimacy, connection, about becoming one flesh with your partner. We arrived at the resort around 2 in the morning. The room was beautiful, huge bed, balcony overlooking the sea, bathroom with a jacuzzi. There were rose petals scattered on the bed, chilled champagne waiting for us. Everything perfect. Everything planned for romance. But Raphael barely looked at the decor. He left the suitcases on the floor, said he was tired, and went straight to the bathroom. He stayed there for almost half an hour. When he came out, he put on full pajamas and lay on the bed right on top of the rose petals, crushing them. I was still standing in the middle of the room, holding my toiletries bag, not understanding what was happening. I asked if he was okay. He said yes, just exhausted from the trip. I suggested we have the champagne, talk a little. He said he preferred to sleep.
I didn't insist.
I thought maybe the next day, after resting, things would flow naturally. But the next day was the same. And the next one too. Raphael avoided any closeness. At the beach, he stayed distant, reading a book or scrolling on his phone. In the room, he always found an excuse to be busy. He needed to answer work emails, wanted to watch the game, had a headache. At night, he lay facing the opposite side from me, creating an invisible barrier between us. On the third day, I couldn't take it anymore. I waited for him to get out of the shower and sat on the bed, blocking any chance of escape. I said we needed to talk, that I didn't understand what was happening, that we were on our honeymoon, and he barely looked at me. That was when he sat heavily in the armchair, put his face in his hands, and began to cry. I had never seen Raphael cry before. Not even when his grandfather died. Not even when he lost his job 2 years ago. He was always contained, controlled. But there, in that hotel room decorated for romance, he fell apart. And then he told me. He told me that he had never felt attracted to women. That he always knew he was different but tried to ignore it, suppress it, pretend it wasn't true. That his family was conservative, religious, and that he knew he would be rejected, kicked out, disowned if anyone found out. That dating me, getting engaged to me, marrying me was a desperate attempt to be normal.
To fit in.
To do what was expected of him. He said all this looking at the floor, unable to face me. He said he chose me because I was kind, because I didn't pressure him, because he thought he could live a lie by my side. That he hoped maybe, somehow, if he simply ignored what he felt, it would disappear. That he was wrong. That he couldn't pretend anymore. I listened to everything in silence. I didn't cry at that moment. I didn't scream. I didn't do anything. I just sat there, processing every word, feeling as if the floor was opening up beneath me. My entire life, my whole planned future, all the emotional investment of the last 3 years, all my family's expectations, all the dreams I had built, everything collapsed in a single conversation. When he finished speaking, I just asked if he had any feelings for me. Anything. Friendship, at least. He took a while to answer, and when he did, he said he liked my company but it wasn't love. That it never was. That he was sorry. So sorry. But that he couldn't live that lie anymore. I spent the rest of the honeymoon in a kind of trance. We went back to the room, and I simply lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Raphael tried to talk to me a few times, but I couldn't form words. I couldn't process what to do with that information. For the next 2 days, we stayed at the resort because it was already paid for, but it was like we were two strangers sharing a space. I went to the beach alone, ate alone, walked along the sand trying to understand how my life had turned upside down so quickly. Raphael stayed in the room, also alone with his own demons. We flew back to New York in the most awkward silence I have ever experienced. At the airport, when we went to get a taxi, I finally said something. I said I needed time to think, that I was going to stay at my parents' house for now. He just agreed. I made up an excuse for my family. I said Raphael had an emergency at work and that I prefer to come back to help my mom with something or other. They thought it was strange, of course. Newlyweds don't separate that quickly. But they didn't push it. During the first few weeks, I functioned on autopilot. Went to work, came home, locked myself in my room. My mom asked when I was going to the apartment we had rented with Raphael. I made up excuses. The apartment needed repairs. Raphael was working a lot.
Soon, I said.
Always soon. At night, I stayed awake replaying every moment of our relationship, looking for signs I should have seen, questioning my own judgment. How did I not notice? How was I so blind? Did other people know? Did everyone know except me? The doubts consumed me. I felt stupid, used, disposable. I had given 3 years of my life to someone who never truly wanted me. I had planned a future that never existed. I had said vows that were a lie on the other side. Raphael tried to call me a few times during the first week. I didn't pick up. He sent messages apologizing, saying he wanted to talk, that we needed to decide what to do. I read the messages but didn't reply.
Didn't know what to say.
Didn't know what to feel. But as the days went by, the initial numbness began to give way to anger. Anger at Raphael for using me. Anger at myself for not seeing it. Anger at the whole situation. I had saved my virginity, my plans, my whole life for a marriage that was a sham from the start. Today, a month after that day at the resort, I finally made a decision. I can't live with this situation anymore. I can't pretend we're just going through a rough patch. I can't go back to that apartment and live a lie. This morning, I woke up and finally replied to one of Raphael's messages. I arranged to meet at a neutral coffee shop. When I arrived, he was already there, looking just as lost as I felt. We sat down, ordered coffee neither of us drank, and I said what I had to say. I said I was going to file for divorce. That I saw no other option. That I understood he was struggling with his identity, with his family, with his own issues, but that I couldn't be his shield. I couldn't be the facade he presented to the world while I died inside. He cried again.
He said he understood.
That he wouldn't contest it. That I deserved to be happy with someone who really loved me. For the first time since the honeymoon, I cried too. Not for the loss of the marriage because there never was a real marriage, but for the loss of what I thought I had. For the loss of innocence. For the loss of the girl who woke up early, had coffee with her mom, and thought she knew exactly how her life would be. Now I am here at my parents' house, having to eventually tell them what happened. Having to deal with the questions, the judgment, the pity from everyone. Having to rebuild a life that ended before it even began. I am devastated. I won't lie and say I'm okay, because I'm not. I wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, thinking about everything I lost. I look at the wedding dress hanging in the closet and feel like tearing it apart. I see happy couples on the street and feel a mixture of envy and disbelief. But I also know I can't stay in this place forever. That eventually I will have to move on, rebuild, find a new version of myself. A version that is more cautious, perhaps. More attentive to signs. But also, I hope, a version that is stronger. Who knows she can survive the worst and remain standing. For now, I am just surviving. One day at a time. Crying when I need to cry. Breathing when the anger tightens my chest. Telling my story to whoever needs to hear it, because maybe it will help someone not make the same mistakes. Or maybe it will just help me process what happened. This is my story. It's not the story I wanted to tell. It's not the happy ending I imagined. But it's real. It's mine. And now I need to figure out how to move on from here.